What do you do when the person you trusted the most becomes the reason you suddenly feel small, confused, or unwanted? That moment hits deeper than anything else. It's the moment when your heart goes quiet. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you don't know where to put the pain he just handed you. And if you're listening right now, maybe that pain still sits in your chest. Maybe his actions touched a place inside you that you never wanted anyone to reach. But here's the truth you might not realize yet. The moment he hurt you, something powerful awakened inside you, something he never expected. Because pain doesn't just break people, pain transforms them, and you're about to understand that transformation in a way that not only clears your mind, but strengthens your spirit. Stay with this video until the end, because if you do, you will walk away with a perspective that can completely shift how you handle any man who hurts you. Without anger, without games, without losing yourself. You'll discover the exact emotional posture that brings back your power, your dignity, and your sense of calm. That is your reward for staying. And trust me, that reward is worth it. But let's start at the beginning, the moment the hurt hits. When a man hurts you, the first feeling isn't anger, it's confusion. Why would he do that? What changed? Was it something I did? Was I not enough? Your mind races through scenarios, trying to make sense of something that feels senseless. And that confusion is exactly where your power begins, if you learn how to use it correctly. You see, most people think the strongest response is an immediate reaction. Raise your voice, defend yourself, demand an explanation. But psychology tells us something different. The real power lies in your pause. The pause right after the pain. The quiet moment where you choose not to let the hurt control your next move. That pause is your first weapon. It is the moment where you stop the emotional chaos from spreading inside you. Because in that pause, you breathe. In that pause, you remember who you are. And in that pause, you stop giving your energy to a man who didn't consider it in the first place. The pain he caused might have been intentional or careless, but either way, it created a shift in you. And here's the psychological truth. People only hurt you deeply when you value them deeply. The pain you feel is not weakness, it's evidence of the kind of heart you carry. A heart that loves fully, a heart that trusts openly, a heart that deserves better than being handled carelessly. So instead of collapsing into the pain, I want you to ask yourself one simple question: what does this moment want to teach me about myself? Because this moment, right here, this hurt, this confusion, is not here to destroy you, it is here to wake you up. To show you the strength you forgot you had, to remind you that you are capable of surviving emotional storms without losing your sense of self. And yes, it also teaches you something important about him. When a man hurts you, intentionally or thoughtlessly, he expects one of two reactions. Either you break, or you beg. Maybe not physically, but emotionally. He expects your pain to show. He expects chaos. He expects you to lose yourself trying to understand him. But imagine this instead. You take the hit, and you stay standing. You feel the pain, but you protect your peace. You acknowledge your emotions, but you don't hand him the power to control them. That is the moment he becomes confused. Because a calm woman who is hurting is the strongest energy a man will ever face. Your silence is louder than any argument. Your composure is more powerful than any reaction. Your refusal to fall apart becomes the mirror he cannot escape. But before you reach that level of strength, you need to understand something essential. You are allowed to feel the pain. You are allowed to cry. You are allowed to be disappointed. Strength doesn't mean shutting down. Strength means feeling everything, without losing yourself inside it. So sit with the emotion for a moment, not to drown in it, but to understand it. Because when you understand your pain, it no longer controls you. It becomes fuel. It becomes clarity. It becomes the beginning of your rise. And when you rise from hurt with a calm heart and a steady mind, you create a kind of confusion in him that has nothing to do with manipulation. It's the confusion of realizing he expected to break something inside you, but instead, he woke something up. In the next section, you will learn exactly how that calm strength becomes your greatest power, how silence, control, and self-respect shift the entire dynamic without you saying a single unnecessary word. But for now, let this truth settle in your mind. You don't confuse him by playing games. You confuse him by standing tall in the exact moment he thought you would fall. When someone hurts you, There's a moment when your emotions feel louder than your thoughts. Your heart wants to react instantly, but your mind is still trying to understand what just happened. That emotional storm creates pressure inside you, pushing you to say something, do something, prove something. But what most people never learn is this: your greatest strength appears not in your reaction, but in your restraint. Silent self-control is not weakness. It is not avoidance. It is not pretending you don't feel anything. Silent self-control is the decision to protect your energy before anything else. It is your refusal to let someone else's actions drag you into emotional chaos. And here's the truth: human psychology responds powerfully to silence. People expect noise. They expect emotional explosions. They expect defensiveness or desperation. But when you stay calm, grounded, and composed, it creates a psychological shift that the other person cannot ignore. It doesn't matter who hurt you. What matters is how you rise above it. Think about what happens inside you when you stay silent for a moment after being hurt. Your breathing slows down, your thoughts clear, your heart steadies. You begin to see the situation with sharper eyes. It's almost as if you step outside your pain long enough to understand it. And that clarity becomes your protection. Because when you see clearly, you stop giving your reactions away cheaply. A man who hurt you might expect you to confront him immediately, to question everything, to fall apart, or to demand answers. But when you choose silence, he faces something he never anticipated. You're no longer reacting to him. You're reflecting on yourself. And nothing confuses someone more than realizing you are not letting their behavior dictate your response. There is a quiet power in withholding your reaction long enough to understand your own emotions. Silent self-control is emotional intelligence in its purest form. It's knowing that your pain is valid, but not allowing that pain to make decisions for you. It's knowing that your heart is heavy, but not letting that heaviness drag your dignity down. It's knowing that you could confront him right now, but choosing to first confront the version of yourself that deserves better. Self-control doesn't mean you don't speak. It means you speak from strength, not from hurt. Imagine standing in front of someone who expected to see you crumble, and instead, you are composed, focused, and emotionally steady. That kind of energy is impossible to ignore. It sends a message without you saying anything at all. I felt the pain, but I didn't lose myself in it. Psychology calls this detached emotional presence, the ability to feel deeply without reacting impulsively. This alone changes the dynamic completely, because suddenly he's not dealing with someone overwhelmed by emotion. He's dealing with someone who has mastered the emotion, and people don't know how to handle someone who is both hurt and calm at the same time. It creates a discomfort inside them, a confusion, a mirror they cannot look away from. Why? Because your silence gives them space to sit with their own behavior. Your self-control exposes their lack of control. Your composure highlights their carelessness. Your emotional intelligence forces them to face the consequences of their actions. But silent self-control is not only about him, it is about you. It's about building the kind of inner world where no one's behavior can shake your foundation. It's about understanding that your peace is too precious to hand over in the heat of the moment. It's about realizing that reacting quickly often gives away your power, while responding slowly allows you to reclaim it. When you stay silent, something deeper happens. You begin to understand what you truly deserve. You see that your heart is not weak, it is compassionate. You see that your pain is not a prison, it is a message. You see that his behavior says everything about him and nothing about your worth. And at that moment you start rising, not loudly, not dramatically, but silently, from within. You start choosing yourself. You start protecting your emotions. You start valuing your peace more than proving your point. And that inner shift becomes visible externally. He sees it even if you don't say a single word. That's what confuses him. That's what unsettles him. That's what makes him question his actions more deeply than any argument ever could. Silent self-control is not about revenge. It's not about teaching him a lesson. It's about showing yourself that you can stay centered even when someone tries to knock you off balance. The moment you choose self-control, you choose strength. The moment you choose silence, you choose dignity. The moment you choose clarity over chaos, you choose yourself. And you will notice something powerful. The more you master your silence, the more you master your life. The less you react, the more people respect your boundaries, the more composed you remain, the less anyone can take advantage of your emotions. Silent self-control is the beginning of a transformation that leads you out of hurt and into power. There comes a moment after the hurt, after the silence, when you begin to notice something powerful. Your energy is returning to you. The emotional grip that situation had on you starts to loosen. And this is where the real shift happens. Because now, instead of pouring your strength into understanding him, you redirect that strength into rebuilding yourself. Most people don't realize how much emotional energy they give away when they're hurt. You replay the situation in your mind. You analyze every word he said. You question your own worth. You imagine different outcomes, different conversations, different versions of yourself that might have changed everything. But every one of those thoughts drains you. Every replay steals a little more of your peace, and without realizing it, you're handing him something he no longer deserves: access to your inner world. Reclaiming your energy doesn't start with cutting him off. It starts with cutting off the thoughts that feed your pain. You reclaim your energy the moment you say, "I won't let this situation control my mind anymore." Because your mind is the center of your power. Your thoughts shape your confidence. Your inner world becomes your outer presence. And when a man hurts you, the confusion he expects comes from your emotions breaking down. But the confusion he does not expect is the moment you stop feeding the hurt and start feeding your strength. Reclaiming your energy is psychological. It means shifting your attention from what he did to what you can do next. Instead of asking, "Why did he do that?" ask, "What do I need to heal from this?" Instead of thinking, "What's wrong with me?" remind yourself, "What's right with me that I didn't deserve this?" Instead of wondering, "Does he care?" say to yourself, "I care enough about myself to stop allowing this pain to run my life." Your mind is not a place for people who treat you carelessly. Your emotions are not a playground for someone else's confusion. When you reclaim your energy, you take back ownership of your heart, your attention, and your peace. And something remarkable happens when you do this. Your silence becomes stronger, because now it's not silence from shock. Not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. You don't need to prove your pain to anyone. You don't need to convince him that he hurt you. You don't even need him to understand your value. Your actions reveal everything. Think about the kind of emotional impact this creates. He sees you no longer responding instantly to his messages. He notices that your tone has become more measured. He realizes that your world no longer revolves around him, and he feels something shift, something he never expected. Not because you're trying to be mysterious, but because you're trying to be whole. There is a deep psychological shift when you stop explaining your worth and start living it. When your behavior becomes calm, consistent, and steady despite the pain, it reveals a truth he cannot ignore. You're not trying to hurt him. You're not trying to chase him. You're not trying to change him. You're simply choosing yourself. That choice is louder than anything you could ever say. Your actions create a kind of internal pressure in him. Not pressure from manipulation, pressure from reflection. It forces him to look at the difference between how he treated you and how you're treating yourself. It exposes the gap between his behavior and your growth. And that's where confusion begins. Because he expected to see you weakened, but your actions show growth. He expected to see you broken, but your strength becomes undeniable. He expected emotional chaos, but you respond with emotional clarity. You're not reacting emotionally, you're acting intentionally. Every step you take in this quiet strength sends a message: I will not live in the same emotional space where the pain occurred. And that is the point where you begin to rise. You rise by staying calm. You rise by staying consistent. You rise by staying focused on what you deserve, not what you lost. Your body language becomes part of this. You carry yourself with more steadiness. You move with more purpose. You speak with more calmness. Your presence feels different, more grounded, more centered, more confident. That's not a show, that's growth. And people can sense growth even if they don't understand its origin. Your actions stop being reactions, they become expressions of self-worth. And self-worth is the most confusing thing to someone who expected you to stay hurt. Because now, instead of clinging to the pain, you're building something new. You're rebuilding your identity. You're recentering your peace. You're realigning your priorities. You begin focusing on what nourishes you, your routines, your goals, your mental health, your self-care, your inner calm, and that inward focus automatically shifts the outward dynamic. A man who once saw you emotionally open is now faced with a woman who is emotionally disciplined, a woman who refuses to let hurt define her, a woman who understands that her power does not come from what she says, it comes from how she carries herself after the pain. Let your actions speak for you, let your emotional stability speak for you, let your dignity speak for you. Because actions don't argue, actions don't plead, actions don't break character. Actions tell the truth without raising their voice. And the truth your actions reveal is simple. You may have hurt me, but you did not end me. You may have shaken me, but you did not take my strength. You may have caused pain, but you did not take away my power. The calm way you rise becomes the message he never expected, but the message he cannot ignore. Once your actions begin to speak for you, something transformational happens inside you. You start to feel the strength of choosing yourself again, not loudly, not publicly, not with dramatic declarations, but quietly, steadily, in a way that rebuilds your identity from the inside out. Choosing yourself is not an announcement. It is a shift in the way you treat your own heart. After someone hurts you, your first instinct might be to explain what you feel, to fight for clarity, or to make him understand the pain he caused. But choosing yourself means releasing the need for his validation. It means no longer seeking answers from the same place that created the confusion. It means turning your focus inward and realizing something profound. Your healing is not his responsibility. Your peace is not his job. Your worth is not his to decide. When you choose yourself, you stop hoping for closure from a person who couldn't even offer consistency. You stop expecting accountability from someone who wasn't careful with your heart. You stop tying your emotional well-being to their actions. You begin to understand that your life still moves forward, even if he stays still. This realization does something powerful. It removes the emotional weight that once held you down. It frees the part of you that was tangled in his behavior, and it reconnects you with the version of yourself that existed long before the hurt. Choosing yourself doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop collapsing. It means you wake up in the morning with a different intention. You begin your day not by checking if he reached out, but by checking in with yourself. You measure your worth not by his attention, but by your own standards. You spend your emotional energy on things that build you, not break you. This inner shift does not need to be announced. You don't need to declare that you're moving on. You don't need to post about healing or speak about growth. You don't need to explain why you are becoming distant or more focused. Your silence during this transformation is part of your strength. You're no longer asking for understanding. You're no longer trying to be seen. You're no longer trying to fix someone who isn't fixing themselves. You're simply choosing yourself, quietly, unapologetically, and consistently. And this choice changes everything. Psychologically, people feel when you shift your focus away from them, your energy becomes harder to access, your emotions become less available, your presence becomes more selective. And the man who once hurt you begins to sense that the version of you he relied on, the version that cared deeply, responded quickly, loved openly, has stepped into a deeper strength. The confusion he feels comes from a simple reality. He expected your feelings for him to override your feelings for yourself. But they didn't. You didn't become cold. You became conscious. You didn't become distant. You became deliberate. You didn't become selfish. You became self-respecting. This is the power of choosing yourself without making an announcement. It's not about proving a point. It's about protecting your peace. And the more you protect your peace, the clearer your life becomes. You stop tolerating emotional inconsistency. You stop engaging with behavior that drains you. You stop giving chances that contradict your worth. You stop placing people on pedestals they didn't earn, and you start building a life where your joy doesn't depend on someone else's maturity. Choosing yourself means returning to your goals, your dreams, your routines, your personal growth. You invest your time in things that expand your life. You nurture the relationships that uplift you. You create boundaries that honor your emotional capacity. And through all of this, you communicate one message, not through words, but through the way you live. I am not waiting for anyone to value me. I value myself. This message reaches him even if you never say it. It reaches him through your silence, your confidence, your distance, your clarity. It reaches him because your energy is no longer shaped by his behavior. It reaches him because you are no longer emotionally accessible in the same way. And that's the kind of confusion that makes someone rethink everything they took for granted. Choosing yourself does not push you away from love, it pushes you toward the right kind of love. The kind that respects you, the kind that values you, the kind that matches your energy instead of draining it. You don't need to announce your growth, you just grow. You don't need to declare your healing, you just heal. You don't need to tell him you're choosing yourself, you simply choose. After you begin choosing yourself, after your actions speak louder than the hurt, something remarkable happens inside you. You start realizing that you do not owe anyone an explanation for your strength. You do not need to justify your peace, your boundaries, or your decisions. That is where real confidence is born, the kind of confidence that comes from knowing your worth and refusing to hand your energy over to someone who cannot honor it. When a man hurts you, the instinct to explain yourself is powerful. You want him to understand why his actions affected you, why it hurt, or why you are reacting a certain way. But the truth is, explaining yourself rarely changes his behavior. It rarely repairs the imbalance he created. In fact, over-explaining often gives him back control over your emotions, over your thoughts, over your calm. Confidence in not explaining yourself is one of the most confusing things a man will ever face. He expects emotional responses, justifications, or desperation. Instead, when you stay quiet and grounded, your lack of explanation communicates far more than words ever could. Your emotional self-sufficiency becomes a statement that cannot be argued with. Psychologically, people are unsettled by women who refuse to justify themselves. Humans instinctively look for patterns. They expect reactions and explanations to follow actions. When you break that pattern, when you maintain composure without explaining your choices, it creates a cognitive dissonance that leaves them questioning themselves. And that dissonance is not manipulation, it is clarity. You are showing him that your life, your energy, and your emotions are yours alone. This confidence doesn't come from arrogance, it comes from self-awareness. It comes from understanding that your value is intrinsic and does not require validation. When you live in this space, you no longer give your attention to what he thinks or feels about your responses. You stop seeking permission to be at peace. You stop waiting for approval to heal. There is a profound psychological effect of silence and self-restraint. When someone expects an explanation and receives none, they begin to fill the space themselves. They start analyzing their own actions. They start realizing, even subconsciously, that your absence of reaction does not mean weakness, it means boundaries. Your calm becomes a mirror that reflects their own behavior, forcing them to confront the consequences they never anticipated. The more you resist the urge to explain yourself, the more your confidence grows. Every time you choose calm over chaos, every time you choose composure over justification, you reinforce your sense of self. You prove to yourself that you are capable of surviving hurt without crumbling. You prove that your peace is non-negotiable. You prove that your emotional world belongs to you alone. Confidence of this kind is magnetic. It does not demand respect. It commands it through presence. When you stop explaining yourself, when your actions and silence align with your values, people begin to recognize your strength without you needing to announce it. And for the man who hurt you, this is disorienting. He expected chaos. He expected pleading. He expected vulnerability. Instead, he finds a woman who is steady, self-assured, and unshakable. This is not about revenge. This is about reclaiming your power. Confidence without explanation is not meant to confuse for fun. It is meant to protect your inner world. It is meant to preserve the energy that belongs to you, to strengthen your sense of worth, and to demonstrate that no one can control your emotional state without your permission. By not explaining yourself, you also redefine your boundaries. You teach a silent lesson that your peace cannot be bargained with. You show that your energy is valuable and that it will not be wasted on someone who fails to respect it. Every day that you act without justification, your inner strength compounds. Every day that you remain calm in the face of someone's careless behavior, you reinforce a standard for how you will be treated moving forward. And there is freedom in this. The freedom to focus on yourself, your goals, and your growth. The freedom to direct your energy toward things that nurture you rather than drain you. The freedom to love and care for yourself without needing validation from anyone who once caused you pain. A man who hurt you may try to provoke a response. He may hope for an explanation, but your refusal to provide one does not make you cold. It makes you powerful. It makes you untouchable in ways he never expected. Your confidence, without explanation, becomes the most profound statement you can make. I am whole, I am grounded, and my peace is mine to protect. This confidence is invisible but felt. It is quiet but undeniable, and it is the foundation for the transformation that will continue to grow as you move forward. When you hold this space, when you choose not to explain, not to justify, and not to seek approval, you begin to live in a way that prioritizes yourself over reactions. You create a life in which your emotional world is yours to navigate. You create a life in which his actions no longer define you. You create a life in which your confidence radiates through your presence alone, leaving him to confront a woman who is no longer available for disruption, only for respect. And that is the power of not explaining yourself. The more you reclaim your energy, act with quiet strength, choose yourself, and hold your confidence without explanation, the more you notice a subtle shift, not just inside you, but in the way he perceives you. It's almost as if the world around him adjusts to the new version of you. He begins to see something he never expected. A woman who is untouched by his attempts to shake her, a woman who is no longer accessible in the same way, a woman whose life no longer revolves around his actions. When someone hurts you, they often assume the story will continue as before. They expect the same emotional responses, the same vulnerability, the same attachment. They do not anticipate that you can rise above the pain with dignity and strength. And that is the moment when reality itself begins to change for him, because his expectations collide with your evolution. Every action you take in calm confidence, every choice to protect yourself, every moment you direct your energy toward your own growth creates a psychological ripple. It communicates that you are no longer a participant in the cycle that allowed him to hurt you. Your life moves forward without him being able to influence it. And that movement, the simple act of rising, becomes a reflection of what he lacks: discipline, self-awareness, and respect for your boundaries. When you rise, you stop being predictable. He no longer knows how to interact with you because the version of you he relied on is gone. You are no longer defined by his actions or his approval. You are defined by your choices, your resilience, and your values. This is a profound kind of confusion, a disruption of expectations that forces him to reckon with the consequences of his behavior. Psychologically, humans are drawn to patterns. We seek predictability because it gives us comfort and control. When a man hurts you and expects the same emotional responses, he assumes he has control over your world. But when you rise above his expectations, you break that pattern. Strength, your calm, your self-respect, all signal a truth that he cannot ignore. You are no longer available for disruption. This does not mean you are being manipulative or cruel. You are simply living in alignment with your own power. You are refusing to let the actions of someone else define your worth, your mood, or your life. And that choice alone changes his reality because it challenges the narrative he created, that he could control your emotions, that he could provoke you, that he could diminish your peace. When you rise, you also create a mirror for him. He begins to see the difference between who you were when he hurt you and who you are now. That reflection forces awareness. It forces recognition. He cannot escape the reality that his behavior no longer has the power it once held. And this is not about him. It is about the undeniable truth of your growth. Your rising becomes a lesson in emotional intelligence. It demonstrates the power of self-control, the importance of boundaries, and the value of self-respect. It shows that true strength is not loud or aggressive. It is steady, consistent, and rooted in awareness. And the more you live from this place, the less he can influence you, and the more he is left to confront the consequences of his choices alone. Every moment you rise reinforces your independence. It reinforces the idea that your happiness and peace are non-negotiable. It reinforces the truth that no one has the right to disrupt your life without your permission. And in that rising, he experiences a form of confusion that cannot be explained by words because it is not meant to confuse, it is meant to empower. You begin to notice subtle shifts in the way he interacts with you. He may try to provoke a reaction, test boundaries, or regain influence. But your grounded presence, your consistent calm, your unshakable self-respect create resistance. His attempts no longer work because your emotional world is firmly under your control. When you rise, your reality changes first. your clarity, your confidence, your inner peace all shift the environment around you, and as your energy stabilizes, his reality adjusts in response. He begins to experience the consequences of his actions, not as punishment, but as reflection. He begins to understand, consciously or unconsciously, that you are no longer defined by his choices, and that your life continues to move forward regardless of him. The beauty of this transformation is that it requires no confrontation, no loud declarations, no revenge. The change is subtle yet undeniable. Your growth becomes the evidence, your stability becomes the message, your strength becomes the mirror that reflects what he cannot control. Rising after being hurt is not about defeating him, it is about winning yourself back. It is about reclaiming the emotional power he thought he held over you. It is about creating a life that no longer depends on his approval, attention, or behavior. And as you rise, your presence alone teaches him the most profound lesson, that a woman who protects her peace, values herself, and lives intentionally cannot be shaken by careless actions. This rising is the culmination of all the inner work you've done, reclaiming your energy, acting with calm strength, choosing yourself, and holding your confidence without explanation. And as it solidifies, it transforms the entire dynamic. What he once controlled through confusion or pain is now irrelevant. Your life, your choices, and your peace exist outside of his influence. When you rise, your reality changes first, and his reality is the natural reflection of that change. The confusion he feels is not a result of manipulation. It is a result of your undeniable growth. And that is the ultimate power of rising. It proves that nothing he does can diminish the strength you have cultivated within yourself. After everything, the hurt, the silence, the reclamation of your energy, the confident actions, the quiet choice of yourself, and the unwavering rise, you arrive at a place few ever reach, the realization that your pain does not define you. In fact, the very pain that once threatened to break you can become the source of your greatest strength. The hurt is no longer a wound, it is the spark of transformation, the fuel that propels you toward the life you deserve. Pain is inevitable in life. People will disappoint you. They will betray your trust. They will act carelessly or selfishly. But how you respond to that pain determines the trajectory of your life. You can choose to let it consume you, or you can choose to let it refine you. You can let it cloud your vision, or you can let it illuminate the path forward. The choice is always yours. When a man hurts you, the instinct is to fix the situation, to reclaim what was lost, or to make him understand. But true empowerment comes not from trying to change him. True empowerment comes from changing yourself, turning the energy he used against you into fuel for your own growth. The moment you do this, you reclaim authority over your emotions, your choices, and your life. You stop being a passive participant in someone else's mistakes and become the architect of your own journey. Turning pain into power begins with acceptance. Accept that you were hurt. Accept that what happened was real. Accept that your feelings are valid. But also accept that your worth is not tied to his behavior. Acceptance does not mean passivity. It means clarity. It means acknowledging the reality of the situation without allowing it to control your inner world. From this place of clarity, you can begin to rebuild. You can choose to invest your energy in yourself, in your dreams, and in the things that uplift your spirit. Every small decision to prioritize your peace becomes a statement of empowerment. Every boundary you set reinforces your value. Every moment of calm amidst chaos strengthens your resilience. And all of this creates a life where the hurt no longer holds sway. Turning pain into power also means understanding the deeper lessons hidden within the experience. Pain exposes the boundaries that were crossed, the patterns that need breaking, and the areas where growth is required. It teaches you self-respect, patience, and discernment. It reveals the strength you never realized you had. And when you learn from pain instead of succumbing to it, you transform into someone untouchable, not because you are unfeeling, but because you are unshakable. The psychological impact of this transformation is profound. When you move through pain with calm, confidence, and dignity, you create an aura of strength that others notice. A man who once hurt you may feel confusion, perhaps even regret, because the power he thought he had over you no longer exists. But that is not your goal. Your goal is not to create confusion. Your goal is to live in alignment with your truth, to protect your energy, and to rise above circumstances that could have left you broken. Every step you take toward reclaiming yourself diminishes the influence of past hurt. Your life becomes a reflection of your choices rather than a